Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We'll call the Development Committee meeting of November 7th to order, and we have a roll call, please.
Member Krajewski. Member Chaplin. Here. Member Guston. Here. Member Ozog. Here. Member Rutledge. Here. Chair Tornatori.
Here. And welcome to all who are here who are not members. We welcome everyone. Under my chair remarks, I was somewhat hesitant to mention this because I don't like to mention things that haven't even gotten to the CBA level yet, but many of you have received emails, text, phone calls regarding a certain project that's going on in District 1 on Medina Road. Tonight is a zoning board of appeals meeting. I would caution all of us, whether we're members of this committee or generally members of the county board, let's try not to make decisions until we hear all the evidence. Let's not give our constituents an up or down vote one way or the other. My response to anybody who calls me is, I'm keeping an open mind and we'll make the decision when it's the appropriate time. So that's just my opinion, but obviously you can do whatever you want with it, but it may be the best way to go. Public comment, we had one online public comment, which will be made a part of the record as per our county board rules. We have one person here who's commenting on item 7F, Sharon Eckler. Sharon, we have public comment. You are limited to 3 minutes. We don't take any new evidence, but we are glad to have you here and have you give us whatever input you'd like on that particular issue, and that would be the
Come on up.
the zoning hearing officer denying the camper RV.
Come on, yeah.
You can be on camera Yeah, you look good. Your hair and makeup did really.
Well, thank you for having me. This is my first meeting here with all of you, and I live in unincorporated West Chicago, District 6, and my comments here are regarding my RV and where it resides. It is in the rear driveway, which runs east and west of my property. It's within inside a 6-foot privacy fence. It is also aligned with my shed, which is 15 feet from my property line. And I would like to keep it there because it has no visual sighting from the individual on the north side of me, which is in the rear, and it's not visible from the street or an eyesore to the public. And the county is wanting me to move it next to my home, which I'm permitted for a pool. And it's just way too close to maneuver it towards my home without hitting my septic field or hitting my pool or having the financial burden of removing a tree and reinstalling a whole new driveway, extending it even further. I put in a petition from a lot of my neighbors within the 300 feet, in my block, and they all agree that it is set back. It is not an eyesore to the public, and it would totally be an eyesore if it was right next to my home. It would also impact the air and sunlight to the west side of my home coming in from the west side. And I asked for, your approval on this because it allows me to keep it not visible to the public. It's not an eyesore. It keeps the aesthetics of my home, the aesthetics of the neighborhood. And I've had one neighbor complain, which I've had numerous issues with the gentleman. I've lived there 33 years and he's lived there 10. And unfortunately, that's not why I'm here, but he is the only complaint. And I put in petitions from all the surrounding neighbors. They love where it's at because it's not next to my home. You have other homes where you allow it in between houses, and to me, it's okay, but, I feel that would be a fire hazard. If the original home started on fire or the trailer started on fire, it would then go right to the home and cause many other numerous damages to the public and other surrounding homes. So, I'm asking for this. I've got a 6-foot privacy fence. You know, I don't know what else to tell you. It would definitely financially impact me. I'm a single mother. I have a disabled child who loves to go camping.
3
And
minutes have elapsed. Conclude your comment, please. You can finish up.
Oh.
3 minutes are elapsed.
I'm sorry, lost my train of thought there. And, you know, my son, he loves to go camping and everything, you know, and I want to enjoy it. I want to be able to, you know, eventually travel full time, you know, with it and enjoy the USA. And if you haven't seen my electronic comment, I urge you to please read it. You know, that's what I asked for.
Thank you. Thank you. That concludes the public comment portion of the meeting. We'll move on to the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of
Second.
October 17th, 2023. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Moving on to informational. I'll entertain a motion to approve 233582, a recommendation for approval
So
for
moved.
purchase order to Zips Car
Second.
Wash, Bright Car Wash to provide unlimited car washes as needed for the DuPage County fleet of vehicles. There's a motion and a second. Any questions? We've seen this at a couple of other meetings this morning. Yes.
Where is Zips Car Wash at?
Hell out of me. Anybody know?
Yeah, they're actually known as Jet Bright, and there's probably 6 or 7
Several.
of them
Okay.
around the county, yeah.
Thanks.
I think there's one on Geary Avenue, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, near Army Trail Road, but this might even be in District 6.
I think that is.
There you go.
actually. So that's what I was asking
Okay, take
about.
care of it. Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Moving on to regulatory. I'll entertain a motion to approve ECR 2-23 to approve an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Wheaton and the county of DuPage for the transfer of certain regulatory
So
authority
moved.
from the city of the
Second.
county exclusively to the development of the new DuPage County Health Department Crisis Recovery Center. However, Mr. State's Attorney, tell me if I'm doing this right. We do have a new resolution amending this, I believe, that you all have in front of you. So while we have a motion and a second on the original resolution, I believe it would be appropriate for me to take a motion to amend that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to amend the
Second.
resolution with the resolution that you've all been handed. There's a motion and a second to the amendment. And just for brevity's sake, essentially what this resolution is dealing with is the new proposed crisis recovery center. And we will be using the city of Wheaton's zoning ordinance. However, for expediency and otherwise, the transferring of the administration, application, review, and inspection will be done by our staff here at the county. And there will be the building permit fees and inspection fees will be based on the city of Wheaton's schedule. So it's basically Wheaton because we're in the municipality of Wheaton, but we're going to handle all the inspections and the permitting for, I guess, the best practice, if you will.
So first, we need a roll call for the amendment, and then we can move to president.
Right, got it. Okay, okay.
We need a roll call for the amendment first.
Well, we're going to start with the amendment. Yeah, we're going to move.
I just got a question, so.
If that's
Go ahead.
good, then you can.
Oh, okay.
So
Quick question. Do we know what the cost of those fees are gonna be and approximate range of what we're gonna be paying Wheaton?
We're not paying, well,
I mean, there's some. on there.
we're not. Jim, go ahead. You want to answer this? I think I have the answer, but I want to make sure it's right.
So there is a cost to the permit fee. And instead of using the county's fee schedule, we'll be following the Wheaton fee schedule, which is what the health department would have been paying regardless. So that would be the cost. We're not entirely sure what it is because we're not familiar with Wheaton's fee schedule.
That's
But
fair.
we think it's around $70,000 just using, they have a calculator online and taking a shot at it, but we're not entirely sure we did it accurately. So we'll probably ask for their help when it's time to actually charge the fee.
So just, we've been involved in this. Obviously, we're looking to expand this for other areas of the county. This agreement will simply allow our building and zoning department to do the permitting and the reviews and the inspections for that building. And it seemed fair that while we're doing it, we wouldn't charge any more or less in the city of Wheaton. That's what they would charge before. So we're matching that. That money will be coming to building and zoning. So
We're going to receive it.
we will be doing the work for them.
Okay.
So that's why.
Oh, all right.
So basically, they're advocating their review authority to
To
the
the
county. And so that's why how we're doing it. And this is gonna be kind of a template that we're gonna use moving forward, potentially for the rest of the campus.
Yeah, just reading the legal document, I got backwards on the interpretation.
Anybody else have a question?
I'm not clear. We're paying 70,000 to Wheaton and we're doing work?
No.
Oh,
We are, the health department will be paying permit fees to DuPage County Building and Zoning.
Okay,
So there will be no payments to City of Wheaton,
okay.
because our staff will be doing all the reviews, all the inspections, expending our time doing it.
So we're taking this off Wheaton's plate altogether?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
But we're using their zoning
So we're
ordinance
using, okay, will they have
and fee schedule.
any oversight to come in and make sure we're doing that, or is
So,
this is a
so
trust
they're
issue?
involved, our ordinances are very well aligned. Stormwater
Yes.
ordinance, everything. Where there's differences, we will honor theirs. They're
Got
very
it.
comfortable with it. They have some of the preliminary planning authority, some of the zoning type stuff.
Okay,
We will have all the inspections, the inspections. I mean, if we miss something, it's on us.
yeah,
And so we're gonna certify that it meets all the codes.
okay. No, I wasn't quite clear on that, so thank you. Not your fault.
Okay, any other questions regarding this? Okay, we have a motion to amend the resolution as per the document that you all have. We'll do a roll call. And there was a second?
There was.
Okay, motion second, roll call please. On the amendment.
Member Chaplin? Aye. Member Guston?
Aye.
Member Ozog?
Aye.
Member Rutledge?
Aye.
Chair Tornatori?
Aye. And the motion is amended. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution as
Second.
amended. There's a motion and a second on that. Roll call please.
Member Guston?
Aye.
Member Ozog?
Aye.
Member Chaplin? Aye. Member Rutledge?
Aye.
Chair Tornatori?
Aye. And the motion carries. And thank you to Jim, Nick, Paul, the city of Wheaton. The city of Wheaton agreed to this resolution at their meeting last night. So they're on board with it as well. So everybody knows. I'll entertain a motion to approve DCR 3-23, approving a resolution accepting a grant from the Illinois Housing Development Authority Strong Communities Program Round 2.
Second.
So motion in a second. This is the IDA grant for $299,000, which will be used for our neighborhood revitalization program, otherwise known as our Clean and Lean program. It closes on November 15th. I want to thank Jeff from the Finance Department, Alan Smith, Connor, and Heidi from our office to bring all the documents together. Once this resolution is approved today, Paul is literally going to take it and drive it down to the IDA office down in the city to make sure it gets there on time, so that we will be able to get our $299,000. So we have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Now that you said it, it looks like Paul's ready to jump out of his chair.
Ready to go.
He have his
He's
gym shoes on though.
at the shot on this one. Okay.
So I'm assuming this does not need board approval, we need to go forward to accept that grant.
It'll go to county board.
It will go to county board. And
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right.
But you're not gonna vote against us getting the money, are you?
Oh, hell.
I will entertain a motion to approve DCO 57-23 zoning 2354. A zoning hearing officer recommendation to approve a conditional use to increase the height of an existing shed, conditional use to reduce the interior site setback for an existing covered patio gazebo, and a conditional use to reduce the interior side setback for an existing spiral staircase from 6.7 feet to approximately 4.5. There's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Yes.
I have a question on this one. This confused me. So they're asking for conditional use to add a foot. So was this built without a permit initially, and now they're coming back and saying we want to add another foot, and it kicked off a lot of,
Correct.
okay, all right. Yeah, this was a weird one.
Yeah, when you see conditional uses where it says something has been there for 5 years, Historically, to grant variations means that it's there in perpetuity, and because variations run with the land. So whenever you see zoning relief that says a conditional use to allow for something that's been there for at least 5 years, that's our way of being able to accommodate something that really has not been a problem. It hasn't manifested itself where
Yeah.
someone calls up and said, someone built a shed without a permit. The fact that it's been there for 5 years, likely the reason we found out about it is they came in to get something else on the
Right.
property, and through our site inspections, we found all these other issues.
Okay,
So it's a way to accommodate something that's not really a problem, but technically needs the zoning relief.
and the conditional use 10-year will start from today. It won't take into consideration that it's existed for more than 5 years.
That's correct.
Okay,
The day that the relief is granted by the county.
thanks. Thank you, Paul.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 58-23 zoning 2362. The zoning hearing officer's recommendation to approve a variation to allow 6 feet 6 inches of 100% closed privacy fence within the 10-foot corner side yard setback. There's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 59-23 zoning 2365. Hammersmith, the zoning hearing officer's recommendation to approve a conditional use to increase the total permitted area
So
of
moved.
a detached accessory building from
Second.
850 square feet to approximately 924 square feet, and a conditional use to reduce the rear setback for an existing shed from 3 feet to approximately 1.8 feet. Motion and a second. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 60-23 zoning 2368 Eckler. This is the zoning hearing officer's recommendation to deny conditional use to allow an existing camper to remain parked within a 30-foot corner side yard setback on the rear driveway. Motion and a second. As we know, we take all of our motions in the affirmative. This was a motion or a zoning hearing officer's recommendation to deny. Paul, you want to give us any information on why this was denied by the
Sure.
CHO?
The zoning hearing officer found that there was ample room on the property to meet the setback. It's in his position, it's a self-imposed hardship. There's also complaints from adjacent property owner that the location of the RV, which has been there and is under violation, is problematic. It creates a line of sight issue. But more importantly, the hearing officer found that there was no hardship, practical difficulty, or unique circumstance that otherwise couldn't be accommodated by parking 30 feet from the property line. There's ample room on the property to do that.
Anybody on the committee? First, I'll get to you, Don. Yeah, yes.
Thank you, Sam. So I've been to this property before a couple of years ago about a different issue. And there is a 6-foot fence all the way around the backyard. I think if the RV was parked next to the shed, like she's suggesting, it wouldn't be visible to the other neighbors. Where what the zoning is suggesting it be parked at would be. And so I'm inclined to give this constituent the ability to be able to park it next to the shed in the backyard.
Any other questions? Don?
Thank you. Paul, have you been out to the property?
I have.
Okay, so, when you said there's ample room on the property to store this RV, does that include, cutting down trees as she suggested?
There is room on the property that could avoid cutting trees
Without
down,
cutting down
and
trees.
there's room on the property that would be outside of the septic area. This property is about a half acre in size. The house on the property is on the extreme southeast corner of the property, so there's another detached accessory building on the property. So there is room outside of those constraints that the petitioner talked about to be able to park this RV.
Okay, and, she said that it's hidden behind a shed?
There is a shed that is located at the northwest corner of the property, adjacent to the public right-of-way behind the fence. But where this RV is proposed to be parked, the fence is about 6 feet tall, and the RV is higher than that. So it's still visible from the
Okay.
public right-of-way.
And that's why the one neighbor complained.
And the immediate neighbor to the north who was most impacted by this is the complainant.
Thank you.
Any other questions at all? Well, I have a question. So this has been parked outside the bounds of our zoning code for a period of time, correct? That's why we're here.
Yes.
Okay. What about the privacy fence? Is that also outside the bounds of our?
The privacy fence is,
No permit for the fence, I guess, is my question.
the fence is considered legal non-conforming. Technically, the fence would have to be at the height that it is, 6 feet tall and completely opaque, meaning 100% closed. Technically, that would have to be 10 feet from the side property line. That fence was put up at a time when we did not have that code in place, so the fence is considered legal non-conforming. So it's okay to be there. The fence.
If nothing else was done, right?
That's
I mean,
correct.
now, if there's gonna be some changes, then it's gotta get conformed to the code as it exists now.
Correct.
It's like sheds that have been up for 5 years that now have to.
If the fence were to come down, that fence could not be put back up where it's at right now.
What about the shed?
Same thing with the shed. The shed is closer than, the shed under current code would have to be 30 feet from the corner side property line. It's located closer than 30 feet. So if the shed were damaged or destroyed or simply taken down, any new shed would have to be built 30 feet from the side property line.
Okay, and what about the line of sight issue?
So the line of sight issue is not that prominent because the property that's adjacent to it to the north is similarly situated. Its house faces the street that is further to the north, whereas this house faces the street that's further to the south. Where we would have the line of sight issues would be at where the intersection of two streets come together. Where they're proposing to put this RV would not be at the extreme intersection of the streets. So there's not really a line of sight on the street. It's more of a blighting issue for the neighbor to the north. It is closer to the neighbor's living space than it is to the current property owner who wants this living space because it's essentially in the neighbor's backyard.
So the impact is more significant to the neighbor than it is to the property owner.
Correct.
And the fence isn't as high as the RV.
That is correct.
How, so the fence is 6 foot and the RV is how?
RV is about 12 feet tall.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
I just had one more that you raised. What is the zoning? How high can a fence be in that neighborhood?
So fences, this is a corner side yard, so it's at the intersection of two streets, and the adjacent street here is considered the corner side yard. Within the first 10 feet of the corner side yard, fences can only be 4 feet tall, 4 foot 6 inches tall, and have to be 50% open. At 10 feet, then a fence can go 10 feet from the property line, a fence can go to 6 foot 6 and be completely enclosed. So I talked about earlier, this fence is 6 feet tall right at the property line. It's grandfathered in, it's allowed to stay there. But as I said to this Tori, if that fence were to be damaged or destroyed, in order to build it back to 6 feet tall, they need a variation or they'd have to move it 10 feet back from the property line. So it's legal from the standpoint that it's legal non-conforming.
Yes, Member Dustin.
So even if the fence was removed and they wanted to put a new fence up, by code, they're allowed to go how high?
Within the first 10 feet, 4 foot 6 inches.
So they still wouldn't have a fence high enough to accommodate the sight line for the trailer, but our RV. So they would have to come in for a variance anyway to seek a higher fence to accommodate what the neighbor is concerned about.
Correct. To fully screen the RV vertically, you would have to ask for a variation to increase the height of the fence above the maximum height that we allow, which is 6 foot 6.
Which would cause a line of sight issue.
Correct. Yes,
So
sir.
essentially you have to move the RV.
Yeah.
You can't build a 12-foot fence. You can't build a 6-foot fence there, let alone a 12-foot fence.
And the bottom line is the highest fence you're allowed in this neighborhood by right is 6 foot 6, and that still would not screen the RV.
So there's a hardship in some way. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
But that's not today what we're voting on.
Right, no, it's not the fence.
Yeah, we're voting on the RV, and I think part of the argument is that you can't see the RV because of the fence.
Right.
And that's not, the
That's
fence
not
does
really
not
true.
screen the RV.
You can't see the RV.
You can see the top of our.
Well, you can see half the RV. Yes.
Thank you, Sam. So Paul, if this person stored the RV where zoning is suggesting that adjacent neighbors still be able to see the RV, correct?
Well, to be clear, the zoning is not suggesting anything. The zoning code requires that building and structures be at least 30 feet away from the corner side property line. There are other regulations, 10 feet from the interior on the other side, and it has to be behind the front wall of the house. So where the area is available to park the RV, there's places to do that and still meet the setback requirement. It may be inconvenient because it has to be further away from the roadway, and there's not a driveway there. The petitioner would have to extend their driveway. But the zoning hearing officer didn't suggest to put it in a certain location. They're just essentially saying you can't prove a hardship or unique circumstance as to why you should get a variation to be closer than what the zoning code allows. But having said that, if they were to move the RV to a place on the property that was 30 feet away from the property line, the neighbor would still see the RV, but it wouldn't be as acute as it is now.
And is there a driveway or a pad where it's currently parked?
Yeah, it's a gravel driveway, I believe. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Yes, Member Rosa.
Was there any comment from this impacted neighbor as part of the official hearings of the
Yes.
zoning board officer?
Yes.
You have another question?
No, sorry.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay, as we all know, the zoning hearing officers make recommendations based on the zoning code. They don't take into consideration whether they like or don't like somebody. He does what he's obligated to do under the circumstances. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the petition. A yes vote on the petition would be to overturn the decision of the zoning hearing officer. What's that going to require, County Board? Anything special?
It requires supermajority.
Supermajority? Okay. Which would then require supermajority of the County Board. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the petition as submitted. Roll call, please.
Oh, good point. Sam, I'm sorry. Jim made a really good point. I apologize for that. I apologize. It is a conditional use. It is not a variation. So it would not require a supermajority. Conditional uses don't require supermajorities. Only recommendations to deny variations. So sorry. Thanks.
Sorry. No worries. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve it. Roll call, please.
Member Rutledge?
Aye.
Member Chaplin? Aye. Member Guston?
Aye.
Member Ozark?
Aye.
Chair Tornatori?
No. And the motion carries 4-1. It'll be submitted to the county board next week. Moving on to item 7G, I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 61-23, a zoning hearing officer's recommendation to approve a conditional use to allow the finished side of a fence face inward instead of outward toward the adjacent property. There's a motion and a second. Are there any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 62-23. This is an update
So moved.
to the
Second.
DuPage County Building Code, and this would be also a request to waive the first reading. The motion and a second. Jim, you want to tell us anything at all about this?
Sure, I'll be brief. I know we're running a little bit long. So I just wanted to, it's been 2 years since we've updated the code. Some of the key things, we're not updating the ICC codes. We're simply doing the residential code, which is a county drafted code. One of the reasons we do this is we have an ISO rating of 4. So we want to kind of maintain that, make sure we stay current. So it's a very good rating. It's both our residential and commercial codes.
What is ISO? ISO.
I'm sorry, that is the Insurance Service Office rating. It's like the CRS rating for building departments. So we get a CRS rating for our flood through FEMA, and then we get the ISO rating, which is also helps with FEMA and insurance. So we were asked by the county board, part of this is to kind of go through all of our ordinances and make sure they're up to date. So that was one of the things we did. Literally went through it line by line, looking for spelling errors, old references to the Department of Economic Development and Planning, which we haven't been in 5 years. So we've changed some of those. So in the packet is the struck and clean versions of that. We did add a couple of new things. So the electric vehicle charging systems are state law that's coming online in January. And essentially what that does is in new construction, in this case for residential, you have to be electric vehicle charging ready. So you have to bring a conduit to the charging point in the garage, and you have to have 40 amps of capacity in your panel. You do not have to install the wire, the breaker, or any sort of device. You just simply have to have the conduit there. So that's a new thing that we're going to be working with people to make sure that they know. You can have a dual head charger. So basically it's for every charging location, you have to have at least one. So if somebody's got a 3-car garage, they'll probably have to bring 2 conduits and have potential for 2 chargers in the panel. Like I said, it's not a mandate to install it right now. It's just to be ready in the future as we have houses moving forward. One of the other sections that we added is specifically for decks, gazebos, pergolas, ramps. Our code generally covered how those things were designed, but we really didn't have a specific section that said, you know, we were still using a post hole for a deck that was a minimum 8 inches. Well, everybody's using a 12-inch post hole now. So, you know, we brought some of that up to kind of mirror some of the international codes and just make them sturdier. We've redone the point of attachment. Decks don't fail because the wood breaks. They fail because they fall off the house. So we've strengthened the language to make sure that doesn't happen. We haven't had a deck failure. We don't want to have a deck failure. So we really kind of did a lot of that. We changed our run and rise on the steps to match what the international code is, because that's what everybody around us is doing. So if somebody works in a municipality and then they work in the county, they'll be working off the same rules. So realistically, we didn't do a lot of changes. We just kind of went through and did a lot of small changes to try to mirror what everybody else is doing and not be super impactful and just kind of make our code work better.
Thank you, Chair. So I've had a gentleman coming to environmental talking about dark skies ordinance. And so I was going to ask you about that today, actually. Are we ready to add that to the code yet, and where do we stand on that?
Go ahead, Paul.
So we will be bringing at the end of the year or first of the year, similar to what Jim's done with the building code, some changes to the county zoning code that will include some of the Scrivener's issues that Jim talked about in our zoning code, but also some new updates that will include dark skies, that will include a discussion. And we would not go to the Zoning Board of Appeals Domenico. We bring it to this group to ask for amending, but the dark skies would also be dealing with ADUs, accessory dwelling units.
Nice.
We're also, the reason we're holding off on that is that depending on what happens with the Housing Solutions Committee and some of the initiatives that we have with Housing Solutions, we would be doing a real thorough change to our code to bring in inclusionary zoning to the zoning ordinance. So we want to do that all at one time.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. And one of the things that I had worked on previously was safety issues, carbon and smoke detectors in homes. I know at the city, we modified our ordinance to reflect more smart technology in that. Because we noticed that with the smart technology, with the smoke and carbon detectors, people could get that to their phone that their house is on fire. And there was actually an example of my neighbor that happened to. But because our ordinance didn't speak to allowing that to be present, he didn't know his house was on fire. And 1 year later, he still wasn't in his home. So we changed the ordinance at the city to be able to allow for smart technology and actually give a lack of better words, less conduit and wire pooling and more interconnected kind of IT communication between the systems, between the smoke detectors, to allow residents more safety, along with the fact that when the firemen go in, everything nowadays is mass produced and burns quickly. So then it becomes the quicker they can get there, the safer the firemen are going to be. And so we did pass that upgrade in our ordinance. So I would love to see that countywide just to.
So we do allow that. Right now, we follow the State Smoke Detector Act, which requires 110 interconnected smoke detectors in all the bedrooms on every level and a carbon monoxide detector within 15 feet of the bedrooms. But we do allow for people to bring in on a case-by-case basis for review an updated alarm system. If they want to have a private alarm company come in and install a system like you're talking about, we've had multiple people come in with those types of systems. It's not mandatory, but they're allowed to do it.
The
We wouldn't
difficulty of
prevent
the
it.
ordinance was it had to be conduit and it had to be hardwired through the state. And so they actually modified it where it would be wireless. One hardwire that spoke and then the other is wireless because it's so expensive to get the conduit through. So maybe we could talk offline and maybe
Sure.
spruce that up a bit.
Yeah, we can talk about it further, but it is something that we've had and we would allow it to be wireless. It's not a problem for us. Like I said, we do it on a review basis and kind of a case-by-case thing. So if somebody presents it to us, show us what the product is that you're using, it's UL listed, and it's being used the way it was designed and tested, then we would allow it.
And I know the firemen were really anxious about, like promoting it because it does help them with safety the quicker they can get there. But, okay, thank you.
Any other questions regarding this? Yes, Member Rosa.
I want to thank Jim and his staff for going through this. I imagine this is very painstaking work, so thank you.
It took months.
Yes.
We're known as the Building and Zoning Department. It's not selling. Has there ever been any discussion about the name of our committee?
What would you like it to be, Chair?
Yeah.
Well, we're called the Development Committee, and we have an Economic Development Committee, but we're a Building and Zoning Committee. So I'm not advocating it. I'm just questioning whether or not it's ever been discussed on your end.
Not on my end.
Yeah, we can make an
No,
amendment to the
kind of
board's
where
rules.
else? Okay.
Bring it up at finance.
I'm just throwing it out there because they got nothing else to do.
I always say development in parentheses zoning.
And
I always have to tell people, yeah, I'm sure the development committee, which is building and zoning in the county, so I always gotta, I guess we always gotta say
Maybe
that.
our
to the chair.
needs to initiate.
Oh my
this. Sorry.
She'll
We
put-
vote on
If I
it.
do that, the
Vote
chair
on
will
it.
appoint me to another committee. you know? Okay, any,
Sorry. I mean, Mr. Chairman.
any old business? Yes, members.
I don't, thank you. I don't know if this is old business or new business,
That's okay.
but I'm wondering if it's appropriate for this committee to discuss. And I'm not sure if it's not done directly somewhere else. But I'm sure many of you got the email from Eddie Bedford, a constituent in District 5 who lives off of Modaff. And
We didn't get
and
that.
in his, you did not?
No.
And in his association agreement, it says, the codes, it says, one of the things says the premises shall be used by white persons only, not excluding bona fide servants of any race. And obviously, well, and Eddie is black man, of course, but this has been in his,
Yeah, I can
for
actually,
years,
Title?
for
So
years and years and
I've
years.
actually talked to Eddie on this
Oh,
one.
have you, but how can we do
Yeah,
anything
so-
about changing this?
So he actually talked to the chair and I called Eddie, got a kind of rundown of it. He gave me the sample as well. That email you got was at the request of me, he sending it to me. I am going to work with our state's attorney, with our recorder to figure out, can we do a blanket change out there? Or do we have to do individuals? So I'm definitely on it. It's gonna take a little bit to figure
I
out.
appreciate that.
Yeah, so it's definitely on our radar and it's something that we are pursuing. I just gotta figure out, I mean, obviously, state law prohibits any of that.
Right, and I know
but
that
you
area
have a
was
lot of-
it was very, very racist.
Yeah,
was
it
a
is, and
sundown
a lot of
city,
those from,
and
that you
this
have it
is
on
awful.
from earlier, they're still
Oh.
hanging out on there. We gotta figure out how do we fix that?
Okay, you're on it.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair. Have a
And
good meeting.
I can tell you that if you, doing as many real estate closings as I've done over the years, you see some things in title searches that were, you can only have no more than 12 cows on your property. I mean, just a variety of things that have been there, no alcohol, all kinds of things, all of which the title company, generally what happens is when you sell the property, you get a new title insurance policy, something like that gets stricken.
Yes.
That's
You're on it, Nick.
usually
That's all
the
I care
easiest
about.
way to get
Thank
it
you.
done, but that's, yeah, in any event, those things don't apply anymore anyhow.
Thanks.
Apparently we didn't vote on the update to the DuPage County Building Code, so there's a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, and we are moving on. Any new business or any other old business? Hearing none, seeing none, without objection, we're adjourned. Thank you all.